Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. This is going to be game 4 of the upper bracket final. There's still the grand final after this. So whoever gets, just so we're clear, whoever gets eliminated here still has an opportunity going through the lower bracket where I think it is best of 3. But in the, shoot, I ended up what am I missing? Press some random buttons out here. There we go. That's what I was looking for. This up here. Upper left hand corner, we got Semih starting as the red Protoss 3 o'clock location, Kudos starting as the blue Zerg. Kudos currently up 2-1. If he wins this match, he will have won the upper bracket final. And don't quote me on this, I'll correct myself whether I was wrong in the grand final. I believe whoever wins the upper bracket final starts off 1 win up. And I believe it is best of 5 there. It might be best of 7 there. I'll double check. I think it might be best of 7. But we'll see. So I think upper bracket final, lower bracket final are both best of 5. And then, yeah, we'll see from there. Anyway, Dominator 3-player map. Semih gonna get first scout on Kudos. Kudos looks like he is opening with a Overlord first build. Most likely gonna, because he spotted the probe making its way across, he knows the location of Semih's base. It's wise for him to go ahead and drop that spawning pool regardless now, just because he'll want the extra Zerglings to deal with the probe harassment. And Semih might have an opportunity, depending on his micro, to interrupt that hatchery drop. That could be very big for him if he wants to even up at 5 apiece. No, a little bit of a late forge drop here from Semih, though. I'm concerned, actually, because this is looking similar to game 1. So this forge is coming out late. And, yeah, as a slow forge. And we do know that it was, in fact, cool to start. This drone making its way to go ahead and drop that third base. Probe gonna fight. I think the probe got the first shot. Yeah, and I think Kudos recognizing that, so trying to draw off and turn that into a scouting, but Semih not falling for it. He's trying to stay at the near side, also tacking on a little bit of extra damage. Kudos wants to drop that into the natural expansion hatchery. Is delayed, actually, dropping that third for a bit in the space of it. We do have 4 Zerglings being built, and Semih once again, yeah, dropping the Nexus before the cannons. We'll see. The probe still is going to have an opportunity to create some action here. We do have that hatchery being dropped. The cannon being morphed on that back edge on the way. Does the probe... Kudos going straight up, and I'm wondering... Yeah, the Overlord's right there. I think the Zerglings are going to arrive shortly after that cannon finishes. Never mind. The cannon's in plenty of time. I misread it this time. Okay, yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good. Zerglings coming up to a blockaded front. Also, Semih drew some probes off the line just in case. Overlord taking some damage. Semih wasn't able to blockade the hatchery as far as a follow-up. But anyway, Extractor plop down in the midst of this. And we will continue from there. The Zerglings still testing the edge. Gonna go ahead because of the distance of this cannon. So Semih put that cannon, I think, a little bit further back to guarantee that it would finish on the corner probe, trying to hit that edge. But this is allowing those Zerglings to get free damage over the wall. Semih not dropping a second cannon, not wanting to miss a beat on it, is waiting on his Zealot. But this is a heads up on Kudos to recognize that distance and to slot that edge. And I think the Zerglings are going to get this gateway down. Although Probe able to get 1 Zergling kill. Probe still active opposite side. Looks like it's going to get a drone kill, by the way. But yeah, gateway down, Zealot gone, and now that that front opened up. That really slows down Semih's early game. He's going to have to play very, very protective from here. And we got a tech delayer in the midst of this from Kudos. So rather than go... honestly, if I saw that, if I was able to knock down that gateway that rapidly, I might think about a Hydralisk bust, knowing that there weren't going to be any Zealots to support. But maybe because of the narrowness of the Pizza Wedge, Kudos opting to play it standard and maybe kind of going metagame inside Semih's head, where Semih's gonna... Oh, he's actually dropping a second gateway once again. Third gateway. Are you kidding? So 3 gateways now at across the natural expansion. Does the Overlord spot it? Is the next question. Overlord might get the edge of... yeah, sees the edge of that second gateway. But does it recognize the third? Is the next question. So Semih going very aggressive Zealots early. This is going to dramatically delay a lot of other aspects. Cybernetics core plopping down in the midst of this, by the way. +1 weapons going to be delayed certainly. Single Zealot marching out, more Zerglings making the way across. Spire on the way, by the way. I will admit, I have not seen this earlier 3-gate style before Stargate before. It almost plays like one base. Cybernetics core is finished. This, I believe... And I'm also wondering where it cuts into. Does it end up cutting up into the probe count? Certainly +1 weapons has not been queued. And the Citadel of Adun also likely delayed. 4th hatchery on the front here for Kudos, preemptively. I would honestly think, if I was him, I would honestly think a little bit the Zerglings engaging in a fight that I missed, by the way. It looks like the Zealots are standing. This is a threatening amount of Zealots, actually. 6 Zerglings, and we got 7, soon to be 10 Zealots on the field. More Zerglings are fanning their way across. Yeah, there's a Sunken colony that's morphing. We'll see if this is going to be sufficient. 12 Zerglings versus 7 Zealots. It'll depend on surface area. Usually Zerglings have trouble with this, and also the Pizza Wedge. Although several of these Zealots are low on shield, keep in mind, and I believe all these Zerglings are fresh, and more fresh Zerglings coming out. Semih stepping back, trying to establish the line. Got a really good exchange right there. Lost 1 Zealot, and half the Zerglings were wiped out, but more Zerglings are waiting. Kudos looking for a surround from both directions, is able to pick off a Zealot as it's trying to reposition. Got a really good surround on the remaining Zealots, and now the Mutalisks are out, so I believe this Zealot threat honestly doesn't have a lot of bite to it. Yeah, the Mutalisks and the Zerglings able to preoccupy. Semih actually walking the troops there. There is a Corsair out, but that was a lot of invested resources that went into the bucket there. And this might be a bustable front door with the Zerglings and the Mutalisks on the turnaround. Corsair not quite there yet. +1 air weapons being upgraded. We got 3 Zealots here. A cannon warping to try to protect that gas. That's not quite there yet. The Mutalisks go now. They can pick off that cannon. Looks like they're just going to settle to get some probe kills and take a little bit of free damage. Now the 2 Corsairs making their way out. Zerglings scrambling everywhere to make sure that nothing else has been grabbed. That Overlord going to die at the near side. Interesting match thus far. 4 hatcheries up, Hydrosten being swapped into more Mutalisks being added on. Try to get the raw hatchery count here. It looks like it is 5 hatchery pseudo Hydra, or pseudo Muta, soon to be Hydra. So it looks like it's going to be 6 Mutalisks and some Scourge alongside to push the Corsair back, and then a transition into Hydralisks. Zealot leg speed is complete. Zealots marching their way across, encountering some Zerglings, able to clean them up on the front. This is a nice Sim City, however, with a second Sunken colony on the way. I think if Semih immediately went, the Zealot, or the Zealots, the Mutalisks would have needed to engage the Zealots and might have had to tangle with those Corsair. The 6 o'clock might be a little bit threatened against this. The Hydralisks are not yet being fielded. Kudos is still droning. Semih doesn't know that, though. I don't think he knows the status. Right now, he's basically in the dark, as the Corsairs have been pushed back on the defense. So they haven't been in that. First Corsair wasn't able to walk across the map to confirm what was going on opposite side. So Kudos is really presenting as though he's potentially going 6-hatch Mutalisk, when in actuality we know that he's folding back into Hydra play. +1 weapons queued up, the Hydralisks upgrades on the way, another hatchery, so 6 hatcheries now planting. And with the 44 workers again, let's see if we see a better surge this time. Semih with a decent supply right this second, and this is where Kudos faltered previously. Another gateway flood in the midst of this. I'm wondering if this just is a better timing overall for Protoss if you can get to this stage. Archon with Zealots making their way across, in which case I've learned something overall. Kudos at a very hefty worker count, but lurkers have been skipped. Scourge not quite able to land on the Corsair right there. And we got Speed Zealots with +1, an Archon, and some Corsair along the edge. The Corsair actually backing up. Semih not engaging at the natural. Maybe a little bit concerned by lurkers because he doesn't have detection. But lurkers are not present, and we also have Overlord speed upgrade. Interesting. Maybe saw the eggs and thought that they were lurkers rather than other mining troops. But yeah, Semih backing up right this second. High Templar garnering energy. We have three Zerglings hanging out at the 1 o'clock, which would force Semih into a low ground mineral only, which is, I tell you, that mineral only is, it's a base, but it's not a great base. I don't think you ever feel really good about taking it. The Hydral's starting to march across the map. 6 o'clock base getting grabbed here from Kudos. That is opening up some, as Semih's just sitting on 2 bases, and Kudos grabbing another base here at the 6 o'clock. That's a lot of resources not going to units, and that is opening up a bit of a supply gap though, once again. But right now, it's not turning into anything. Archon getting some good hits on the Mutalisk. A group of Hydralisks wandering across. And it looks like +1 weapons is going to complete for those Hydralisks shortly. All of the army barreling into that 12 o'clock, sorry, that 1 o'clock, to open up that base. The Scourge gonna land here. The Archon is distanced. It looks like one of the Corsairs gets picked off by Scourge. Mutalisk is able to get a little bit of damage done and push back around. The Hydralisks are still scouting around there, but it looks like it is going to be a 1 o'clock base grab. And Kudos is going to stay ahead as far as the economic game is concerned. And he's starting to close the gap on supply, which is what we were missing previously. Also, Overlord speed is complete this time. Lurker tech looks like it's going to finish. And we have a lot of Hydralisks that can turn into lurkers fairly rapidly. The army is currently pinned at the 1 o'clock, and now that Forge gonna drop. Empty Psystorm this time. Caught a Hydralisk. Another beautiful Psystorm on the turnaround though. Oh, caught a massive amount of supply. The Forge was dropped, however, and the upgrade game is a significant aspect of this. Let's see if Semih can do something to make value out of it. The Mutalisks going up to that 1 o'clock location to potentially shut that down, as the Corsairs have been wiped off the field and the Archon is no longer there to provide protection. And with focus fire, those Mutalisks might be able to wipe something out. However, there's a 30 supply lead here for Semih. He doesn't have observers to really capitalize on that army advantage, however. Yeah, and the Nexus canceled now at the 1 o'clock. This is very similar to the previous match, but this time, Kudos has that 4th base working. He's got lurkers and he's got Overlord speed all in place. Halfway to +2 weapons, and he's going to maintain, he should maintain that upgrade lead for the foreseeable future. We do have a Forge back here. We don't have double Forge, however. High Templar at the center of this army. Semih, yeah, relegating himself to the mineral only. Not a lot of High Templar in here, by the way. One of the High Templar does get picked off. The second High Templar is able to drop some Psystorm on the Mutalisk at least. Might have another Psystorm by the time there's an additional engagement. Semih preemptively pushing his army forward so that once the Observer catches up, he might be able to take a fight. Some Hydralisks are sneaking around, pecking away at that Nexus. But honestly, this Nexus is so late for Semih, I think he knows that his best shot is to roll Kudos over at some location or another. And it looks like he wants to go straight into the main. Observer is pivoted away from the lurker line right this second. A few Hydralisks getting caught out. Semih being caught on a lot of those troops bleeding off that edge. He cannot afford to bleed troops here and there. Is re-engaging the Hydralisks center map. It looks like he was able to hold, a Zealot was able to get 3 kills and hold that base. So going a far route around. But with that, Kudos now has 2 hatcheries here at the 6 o'clock, and he's exceeding the worker count of Semih and quickly catching up on supply. Lurkers, they're just to buy time. Also, to make matters worse, +2 weapons will finish shortly. And that is going to really shred into this Protoss army that is only sitting on +1 weapons. Semih trying to grab that 9 o'clock base. I think he's just hoping that doesn't get scouted by Kudos. Kudos now going full Sauron style. You can see on the mini-map just all of the blue starting to make its way towards Semih's base. Lurkers planted, Psystorm dropping, catching some of the Lurkers, but there's a lot more coming. I think Kudos recognizes he's got that upgrade lead and wants to end it here. Swarming in all directions, it looks like Semih's been able to clear out the attack force to the right. A large group of Hydralisks now pressing into that mineral only. Might be able to snipe that Nexus before they're taken care of. Zealots have mostly been cleaned out. The Hydralisks are now backing up to the high ground. That Nexus is at half health. Armies are within 10 supply of one another. Semih is trying to... Oh, yeah, the Nexus still building right there. Kudos doesn't look like he recognizes that it's in existence. Kudos backing up right this second, but he's got another round of Hydralisks looking for a backstab, and he's drawn Semih's army out onto the field. Semih looking for a counterattack, not recognizing that he's going to be absorbing a counterattack of his own. Now recognizes, is trying to draw that army back up to the mineral only, but I think that is too little, too late. Does have +1 armor at this stage to provide some guidance, and now Kudos is kind of doing the tug-pull sort of effect. Wherever Semih's army is retreating, he's engaging, and wherever that army's withdrawing, he's sending troops. Wherever it's not, he's filling in the gap, and if there's ever the army fully grouped up and charging a direction, he's retreating. Really keeping Semih off balance. Right now, he's got a very spread Dragoon force, opting to just go for a full exchange while that Nexus is still down. 9 o'clock base is up. I don't know how those probes got through. I presume they weren't built on site. That will give a bit of a reprieve here to Semih. Supply counts are again still very close, which usually favors Zerg. We don't see any sort of migration towards Hive Tech. So I think Kudos does want to win this in just a straight up fist fight. Has now spotted that 9 o'clock base. Semih cycling here to the 6 o'clock, but his army coming somewhat piecemeal, and ooh, High Templars and Zealots, etc. getting caught out before Psystorm can be a factor. Observers also being picked off as they're trailing that army. They don't have the speed upgrade as of yet. It is good that Semih overbuilt them. Nexus redropping, Semih trying to distance mine now that his main is mined out. And trying to draw towards the end ramp as the Hydralisks are taking the near side ramp to wipe out this expansion. The Observers are also exposed in this space, so if a Lurker or two gets up here, yeah, the Observer's going to be picked off. And Probes also losing their lives here. That's going to drop Semih to 2 mining bases, and that will be 2 versus 4. And he's now behind Kudos in supply. Things are looking grim for Semih. Nexus is dropped. The probes retreating, at least the mineral only, will soon be operational. Oof, and some High Templar on a bad rally getting caught up, or bad controlled group getting caught up as well. Kudos is expanding, recognizing he can do so bottom left. You could probably expand on top of that, and if he gets a handful of Lurkers out, could start exposing a lot of vulnerable locations on the map as well. Dark Templar trying to make something happen. We do have Overlords to spot it. Looks like it's going to try to trail, and I don't know how long this Overlord is going to, or this Dark Templar is gonna last. It's gonna at least see the drones making their way bottom left, which could be a forewarning. Do we have Overlord here at the 6 o'clock? We do not have an Overlord at the 6 o'clock, so looks like there is damage that can be wrought here. An Overlord's being cycled over. That's at least 3 drone kills, so that's something. And a brief mining operation that was blockaded. Lurkers are being morphed, and Semih just does not have much of an attack army. He's going to have to rely mostly on Psystorms to make this work. The one advantage he has is that Kudos is lingering on Hive Tech, or sorry, Layer Tech, which means he's not going to progress upgrades. The problem for Semih, though, is he's still sitting on 2 bases, has to put all of his resources effectively into army, and has not been able to afford any additional upgrades. So it doesn't matter. High Templar able to get one good side storm right there. Kudos drawing back, trying to go for another dodge, gets bumbled up a bit, and we have the counterattack coming from the opposite end. Lurkers pile driving that Nexus. That is GG. Semih put up a pretty good fight, but Kudos ends up taking the upper bracket final. He solidifies his place as the first participant in the grand final. Look forward to that. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.